Hi, Ryan. Welcome to the Petal Talk podcast.
What's up?
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Are you excited to be here?
I am very excited to be on the Petal Talk podcast.
You've been waiting.
I have been waiting. I know it's like a girl thing, but
yeah, but you're like
I'm also a part of it.
You are a part of it, and
Yeah.
you're our like masculine energy.
Yeah, guys are gonna take it over every now and then.
Yeah,
so
totally.
Justin and I are still gonna do an episode.
Yeah, you need to.
We are.
I know we need to get.
You just
got to
get him.
I know he's
how
so
to work.
busy. I know. Well, thank you so much for being here today.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited to learn more about your story, learn more about you, learn more about your path in not only business and like entrepreneurship, but in fatherhood and just in your life in general. I think that you have a really unique story that not a lot of people have similar experiences.
Yeah.
And I think that you have a lot of insight to share. And don't let this go to your head, okay? But you are...
an old man.
No, I was not going to say that. You've worn a lot of hats. You've done a lot of like totally different things in your life, and not a lot of people have. You've lived like 15 different lives.
Yeah.
And I feel like every time I talk to you, I like learn something new that I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
So I am just excited to learn more about you and get into it.
Let's do it.
Hi, welcome to Petal Talk, where skincare meets soul care. So
We'll dive in.
first, because it needs to start somewhere, share with me a little bit about where you grew up, what that was like, and those types of details.
Yeah. I grew up in the South. Mm-hmm. So between Montgomery, Alabama and Georgia. Mm-hmm. So deep Southern roots, deep Southern roots. I was born in Florida. So I did start off as a Florida boy. Mm-hmm. My parents were divorced, I think, forever. I don't know if they
married.
I don't know how old. Yeah, and you know what's funny is I've never asked my mom anything, and I never asked my dad anything. And then like a month and a half ago, when Jenna and I were on our way home from Sarasota, Jenna started texting my mom asking her questions because I've never asked. So I learned that they were married and they divorced, probably like right after I was born. Mm-hmm. So I don't ever remember them being together. So anyway, I was born in Jacksonville, Florida. And at the time, both parents lived in Florida. So I was kind of back and forth. And then probably like the age of 10, I guess, 11, my dad moved to Georgia. And then my mom moved to Alabama, where her family was. Mm-hmm. And so that's where I was back and forth. And I went back and forth. I lived with my dad for years in Georgia, and then I would go live with my mom for years in Alabama, and then I would basically in trouble. So I would get in trouble in Georgia, and then my dad would send me to live with my mom, and then I would get in trouble with her, and she would send me to my dad. And I did that back and forth till like the age of probably 15. Mm-hmm. And then that's kind of when I grew up, 15.
Why? Why would you say that as the time that you grew up? What happened at that age?
Well, that's when I really I went out on my own, like 15, 16. So I made it to the 9th grade. Mm-hmm. I failed my first year of 9th grade.
Mm-hmm. Like when you say that, you failed every single class?
Oh, every class. Oh, like not even an attempt.
Did you have good grades like in elementary and middle school?
So fun fact. No, I didn't. And actually where we learned this is my mom gave Jenna a baby box. Oh. And it was like all of my stuff from kindergarten and first grade. And we started reading the discipline letters and the report cards. And no, I really never excelled in school at all. Mm-hmm. And that whole thing, I dropped out in 9th grade. School was just never for me. Mm-hmm. And I still look back at the age of 41 and I would have never done anything different except probably left sooner. So I don't know why though. My downfalls in school, especially at the younger grades, is just I was just like the class clown.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So I just never took anything serious, right? I wasn't like a degenerate kid that was like getting in too much trouble. I was just interrupting class.
Making people laugh.
Stuff like that. And then as I got into like High school, I just didn't care.
Yeah.
I just didn't relate to the things that I was being taught and didn't understand it. I've always been one to question things, and that was always not the right thing to do. And then I did start getting in trouble. So I was, have my path of trouble and doing bad things.
When you moved out or like were on your own, where did you live?
All right. So I was in Alabama at the time, and there was an apartment complex. Not the greatest apartment complex. And it was right across the street from a cemetery. And I paid the guy $300 a month cash because I was too young to get. And I was probably at this time, by the time I technically really moved out on my own and got this apartment, I was like 16, 17.
Okay.
And I was paying him cash under the table. It was not a nice area. But yeah, so I grew up back and forth between Georgia and Alabama. Between my mom and dad. And then that's when I went out on my own. When I quit, I was a hard worker. So I already had 3 jobs. I would work 2-3 jobs at a time.
Like what? What were you doing?
So I've done a lot.
Yeah.
I've done a lot. If we run down the list, my first job actually was a grocery store. I lasted 2 days. And then I worked at Captain D's.
What is that?
Captain D's is a fast food restaurant.
Oh.
Like a fish fast
like
food.
Long John Silver's?
Yeah. It's the same thing, except it's kind of like Burger King, McDonald's.
Okay, yeah.
I think we have Captain D's here.
No, I don't know.
I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure there's one in Sanford. Anyway, I worked at Captain D's. Then I worked at Subway.
Oh, nice.
And then I started working through a temp agency.
Okay.
That's where they place you, through
yeah, did you do like
jobs.
odd jobs?
Yeah, so I did, and I did folder manufacturing. So I would put the labels on like the doctor's folders that you see that have the, the tan folders that have so I made those. I worked at Sarah Lee's bread factory. Oh. Yeah. So I worked in the factory on the line, 12-hour shifts with the hairnet, the white thing and all. And I would pack up your, pies and bread. I did car stereo installs. I did security installs at homes. I did spray foam insulation in houses. Those were kind of some of the random jobs that I did. And then I got into Coca-Cola. Yeah. That was like the beginning of my path.
How did you get that job?
Temp agency.
You were doing something like building folders?
No, so they placed me on the night shift. I would go in at 1 p.m. and we would literally work until 6 or 7 a.m. So it was like 18 hour shifts.
Yeah.
We built the pallets. So you would pull a ticket and then you would build that pallet.
For like bigger
for
companies?
The trucks. So what it is like, say your Coca-Cola truck, right? Yeah. That has this route right here where there's a 7-Eleven and a Target or whatever.
Oh, sure.
So those pallets are built manually. So like I would pull a ticket and let's say I got Johnny's route, right? So, I would get his order for 7-Eleven. I would get a pallet loaded up and I would have to walk down the aisles and go, okay, they're getting 12 packs of Coke. All right, 12 packs of...
Did you get to drive a forklift?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Actually, too, I did a forklift. One of my first, better jobs. This is where it's kind of random because I forget about things, but I got a job at a plastic company. So they made the plastic bags for Tyson chicken, ice bags. Yeah. And then I was in charge of the printing plates.
Yeah.
And then I also drove a forklift.
Did you have to get forklift certified at that time?
No, actually, I was underage. I was not supposed to be operating one, but they let me do it. I always did really well at the jobs I worked at, so they would typically hire me from the temp agency, and then they would let me kind of do things that I wasn't supposed to be doing. But I also
did they pay you in cash?
No, because I wasn't too young to work there. I was just not supposed to be doing some of the things I was doing. But they took very well care of me. So that company, I don't even know if it's still around, but that company really did a lot for me.
Yeah.
As far as teaching me a lot. The manager there really was a huge advocate for me, which they were in school too. And that's always been kind of probably the only reason I didn't end up in jail or dead is because they even through the trouble I was causing, they always still like protected me, certain people. You know what I'm saying? Like even like the principal at the school when I dropped out in 9th grade, they were trying their best to protect me.
Like everyone saw something in you.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm very aware of that.
Yeah.
So there were certain people through these places and through these jobs that really looked out for me and kind of helped pave a path for me. So Coca-Cola, I was building the pallets, and that's when I began to work myself up in the corporate world. So
what did that look like? How did you go from building pallets to being like a director?
Yeah, so I started with the building pallets. I was through the temp agency, and I really wanted to work my way up at Coca-Cola. To this day, Coca-Cola was my favorite corporate job because I spent 10 years with them.
Right.
So basically they ended up hiring me away from the temp agency. So that was like my first step as a Coca-Cola employee.
Were you really excited?
Oh yeah. This was because I didn't have any education. So to get in any door was great. And then what they did is they moved me up to a merchandiser. So they pulled me out of the back building pallets and put me as a merchandiser. So what that is I would go in and fill the stores. So now they're putting me in the stores basically. So now your route, right, where you're in charge of Target and Walmart, your off days, I would go into your store and fill your shelves and make sure everything's stocked each day. And
you do that every day?
Yeah.
They deliver every day.
Oh yeah, some stores they deliver twice a day.
That's crazy.
Depends on how high volume the store is.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so like basically the account manager at these stores are in charge of their stores. They're in charge of making sure that the shelves don't go empty, that the coolers don't go empty. And so if the store is a high volume store, they have to go in twice a day and fill it up because the worst thing possible is for their shelves to be empty.
Yeah.
Because they're held accountable from the store, right? If the public store manager, if they're out of Dr. Pepper and people are complaining, that's going to fall back on the account manager for not ordering enough or not filling up the shelves. So I did the merchandising for a while, probably 6 months to a year, I guess. I don't really recall how long I was a merchandiser, but then I saw the opportunity where I wanted to be an account manager. I wanted to be the sales guy. So my goal was to go in and make these stores look better than the account manager was keeping them. And that's really what I did. So the store managers started liking what I was doing better than their account manager. So then they started asking for me. And that's when Coca-Cola kind of moved me up from there, and they gave me a route. And they gave me a really bad route that was struggling.
Like, why bad? Oh, it just wasn't doing well.
Yeah, it wasn't doing well. Maybe Pepsi was the dominant. Maybe the account manager was messing up. Maybe it used to be a big account, but it's not anymore. And then that's always been my specialty through every other career. So they would give me these kind of struggling accounts. I would turn them around, build the relationships, and then they would move me. So they started to see that was my strength, was kind of taking over struggling accounts. And so they moved me around a little bit. And anyway, I did that for years. And then the general manager of the Montgomery location moved to Pensacola, Florida.
Okay.
And he was one of those guys that protected me, right? So he gave me an opportunity in Pensacola. So he got me out of Alabama.
And that's what you wanted. You were done living there.
Yeah, I wanted to go back to Florida. I wanted to get out of Montgomery, Alabama. Like there's nothing there at all.
Yeah.
It's terrible. Pensacola was not far. It's like an hour and a half. Everybody in Alabama goes to Panama City Beach, Pensacola, or Destin because it's like a 2-hour drive.
Yeah.
So yeah, he moved me to Pensacola, kind of the same thing, gave me a struggling route. I built it up to one of the top routes and, did that. And then, I got into healthcare.
So what did that shift look like? One day you're like loving your job, or were you like ready to go?
I wasn't really necessarily ready to go. Just the opportunity came to me. That's also something that has been a big part of my life, is I never really had to pursue anything. That's why I believe so much in work ethic, because work ethic will open more doors than education will all day long. Yeah. So what happened basically is I met in Pensacola, we met some people, and the guy worked in healthcare as a recruiting company. So they would place nurses and medical professionals in facilities that needed them. And so through that relationship, he offered me a job, tried to get me in with his company. It's a really big company, but the education, that was the first time that the education became somewhat of an issue because it was a requirement that they had a college degree because you're in healthcare.
Sure.
And I weaseled my way right past that. And they gave me a job as a recruiter.
Yeah.
So I would basically just stay on Indeed and stuff. Yeah. And call nurses and recruit them. And then I worked my way up from there.
Were you a good employee?
Yes. That was something I've always been confident in about myself. My work ethic was unlike anything else.
But
I never...
You allowed people to tell you what to do?
They never really had to.
Yeah.
Now, when we get into the healthcare story is when, I can share where I kind of did do my own thing, but it was okay.
Yeah.
The work ethic, this is what I've learned. Strong work ethic and ambition will over trump education, pastor rules any day.
Right.
Right.
Right. Because people want to see the benefit, the fruit of the work, right? Like they don't even necessarily care how you get it as long as you're getting the results.
Yeah. So I never would I do what they told me to do? I just did it even above and beyond. Right. So I would work. They never had to ask me. Yeah. So, I remember even one point Coca-Cola, they had to call me in and they had to make me take off because they were breaking laws by how many hours I was working.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. So, so then when I got into the healthcare, I did recruiting. I was in Pensacola, and then they gave me my own office. So, and it was back to that struggling thing. So we built the Pensacola office up to the top office. Daytona Beach was struggling. Daytona Beach and Miami offices were struggling. So they wanted to test me. They thought I was ready to manage my own office, own area. And they put me on a 90-day stretch assignment in Daytona Beach. So basically they put me up in an extended stay. They said, don't move here. We're not going to commit to it. We need to see if this market is possible. It's been open for years and it hasn't done anything. So they basically sent me on this stretch assignment as a recruiter with the ultimate job to take over the office. Went in there, turned the office around. We made it one of the top offices. And then that was, I stayed in healthcare for years.
There in Daytona.
Yeah, because once I got into Daytona, we built that route up. I built that office up. And then I got recruited into home healthcare. Okay. Which is a little bit different. So I took that opportunity because it was a different type of path.
Were you ready for that? Is that what you wanted to do?
No. None of these things I ever wanted to do. Yeah. I was just following my journey. Yeah.
The climbing the ladder, even though you didn't necessarily want to. Yeah.
I was just on a journey. So home healthcare is what I got into, and that's where basically I would coordinate care for people when they come out of the hospital. So Miss Susie gets released from the ICU of the hospital, and she needs a nurse at home. So I was in charge of building the relationships with the hospitals to refer their people to us as home health care. And then I would coordinate it. So basically sales. Yeah. Sales was always what I was in.
Yeah. Pretty much your whole life.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. For 30 years. Right.
And then is that the job that it was a little remote?
Yeah.
Or what did you do that was remote after that?
Okay. So when I was in home health care, at that age and that part of my life is when I really wanted to kind of do my own thing. That's where I can't say that I can't say that I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I never wanted to do anything. Yeah. To be honest. Right. I was never I never knew what I wanted to do. Yeah. I just wanted to work hard and make money. But I think in the back, I always knew eventually I wanted to do my own thing because I've always kind of been rebellious. Yeah, that's why I asked about the boss thing because you are rebellious. That's just your nature. No, and it was. So even back to the healthcare thing, I broke all the rules. Right. But my managers liked me and I was doing a good job. Right. So it was I started to gradually break those rules as I knew I had something to stand on. So they would come to my office and all of a sudden, Ryan, you're not wearing a tie. You got to wear a tie. Well, I don't really want to wear a tie. And then, at that point, you're starting to think okay, what do I do?
Right.
You know, do I tell this guy that's performing very well? Right. And then I would stop showing into meetings, right? And it's like, okay, what do you guys want me to be on phone calls? Or you want me to go make us money?
Right. Or do you want to be in this meeting that is a waste of time?
And then that I would get a taste of like my next level of rebellion. I'm like, okay, I got rid of the tie. Now let me grow the beard.
Right.
Because they required you to be clean shaved. So then they're like, Ryan, you got to clean shave.
Why is it? Is it because you just like to question, like going back to that? Or why do you feel like you are so rebellious? Because it's gotten you far. It's really worked out for you. But where does that come from?
It doesn't come out of rebellion. It comes out of, I just want to be who I am.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to, I can't accept things that don't make sense to me. That doesn't, what I feel like affect what we're doing, right? So it's almost like, dress code. Like, okay, if I'm wearing a tie or not wearing a tie, that does nothing to do with what we're doing here. So I just want to be myself, authentic, right? I just want to be who I am. I don't like to be put in situations where I feel like I'm not able to be me, right? So if you tell me I have to dress a certain way for something, in my mind, I'm like, well, A, I don't dress like that. And then what does me dressing like that have to do with what we're doing? That doesn't change anything. So it hasn't, for me, been more about rebellion as it's been like, I only get life one time.
Right.
And I want to be who I want to be.
Right.
Period. Right. Because I don't want to have to be somebody that I'm not to get the acceptance of somebody else. I believe in authenticity above acceptance all day.
Yeah.
Which is something I'm very proud of and comfortable with. And I believe in nurturing that, even with like our team businesses and stuff. I really I don't require people to dress a certain way or do something. Like, be you, right? Let's just do the job that we're here to do. So I think that rebellion has always been out of that. Yeah. More so of like, this is what I want to do. You know, don't get your hands tattooed. Well, why not? Well, then people won't want to work with you. Okay, well, I don't want to work with them. Do you feel like your tattoos have affected you? Like, were you that heavily tattooed working? Yeah, I started getting tattooed and at Coca-Cola building the pallets when my dad died was my first tattoo. And then, I kind of always gradually kept getting them. So even in healthcare, but I started to use it as my advantage because I would roll up my sleeves and go in these doctor's offices. Yeah. And so people would remember me by that. Right. Has it ever affected me negatively? I don't think so. Yeah. But you've never had someone like professionally be like, I don't want to work with him because he has tattoos. One time that I can think of. Now, if it's ever happened, I've never known. They've never told me that. Yeah. We did have one client that was with one source that was taken back by Jenna and I's tattoos. But it never stopped him from working with us. He signed on with us. He signed like our biggest package. He's like, I feel bad. And the only time he ever brought it up is he asked that we wear long sleeve when we come to his office because he didn't allow his employees to have tattoos. So what he didn't want to do is get caught working with us, which I got, but it also made me very mad. Can you share what the business was? Not the name of it, but like it was a roofing company. That's so interesting. Locally. He was very traditional guy. Still work with him? So no. Oh. I don't know. That's kind of crazy. Overall, do I think no? I mean, I if I look back at it, I've had tattoos since 2003 when I was building those pallets at Coca-Cola. Right. Have I always been as heavy tattooed? No. Yeah. But I always had at least your arms. Visible tattoos. Right. And I made it through all of these corporate jobs and leadership positions that they were putting me in that I was definitely the oddball. Right. You know, I kind of was doing my own thing. So that's what the rebellious is. It's more so of like, I just want to be me. Yeah. And if you don't like that, that's fine. And if you don't want to work with me because of the way I dressed, then I don't want to work with you anyway. Totally. Yeah. You know, it's like that's you're judging. Right. And especially something that's so not that serious as it's not tattoos. And I think, you know, are probably like your generation and then especially like the younger generation, they do not care, right? Like that is no longer, it might be for other companies or other types of work, different industries, but yeah, I am really grateful that has chilled out because it like actually doesn't matter. It doesn't. Facial piercings, colorful hair. Obviously, now we're in I'm in the beauty industry. You kind of are as well.
that is not anything other than celebrated. And I don't necessarily think that it needs to be like celebrated. I think it just doesn't matter. Like, if you want to have rainbow hair and like your nose pierced, like, who cares?
Who cares?
It doesn't matter. Like, your hair color doesn't affect your selling skills. It doesn't affect your skills at being a mom. It doesn't affect your skills at, you know, being a manager. Like, it doesn't matter.
No, not at all. And I've just learned that this is probably the one stage of my life that I'm just thinking, like, I just want to be me. And I want everybody else to just be you, and this stuff doesn't matter. Right. And I can't tell you, I learned a lot through, you know, going back to like my dad dying. Just death was a real big part of my early life, and I've realized that life is short, right? And then, but I can also think of so many conversations that I still have to this day that people are like, "Man, I'd love to get tattooed like that."
Yeah, they get scared,
and or even like, you know, my whole like toy thing, you know, it's like I talk to some, you know, I got some people that are like, you know, they represent themselves a certain way in business, but they're putting on a front because it's not who they are on the back end. And it's like they want to wear shorts, and they were like, oh, I would love to build a Lego. So I love this person or this stuff. And it's like, well, why don't you embrace that? Like, who cares? Why? Because you're worried about how people are going to look at you. And to me, that's sad, because now you're living your life. It
is sad.
Not doing what you truly want to do because there's these
weird parameters that you set up.
Yeah, or people are like, why do you do this? You're a grown man.
Right.
Why do you do this?
Right.
And it's like, because I want to.
Right.
Why would I not do it?
Do you feel like you have gotten more like that as you've gotten older, like more confident in those decisions, or have you kind of always felt that way?
No, definitely more confident in it.
Yeah.
You know, because it took a long time to get to that point of really not
caring.
You know, it's just the language. I don't know how to say it other way than like just kind of like the fuck it attitude.
Yeah.
Like, I gotta do me.
Right.
Because when I'm gone, you these people aren't gonna remember. They're not gonna do anything.
Right.
You know, the world's gonna keep moving. The only thing that's gonna be affected is that I didn't get to live my experience the way I wanted to live it, because you know, you have to act this age, or you can't look like that. And I don't, it's just not worth it to me. So it's definitely something I've grown into, probably more so over the past few years.
Yeah. So after you finished, or you were at the home health care facility, is that when you started One Source? No, that was when you started your clothing company.
Yeah, clothing brand.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so that's when I started to venture into like, all right, I'm going to try to start my own thing. So I started a clothing brand.
While you were working there, on the side, or like
while I was working there.
Yeah.
And so I started to build this clothing brand, Healthy Souls. It was like the first thing I was really trying to do as like a legit business.
Yeah.
You know, I went to a friend of mine and got an investment.
Why did you pick clothing to start?
I've always loved clothing.
Yeah.
That's, you know, always been my thing. I've always loved shoes, clothing, accessories. That's just my thing.
Hats.
Yeah. Like,
jackets.
it's just, and that's always been.
Yeah.
I mean, even when I was younger, a lot of the trouble I was getting to was built around clothes, you know, and stuff. So I've always loved clothes, accessories,
perhaps
shoes.
Like taking them.
Yeah. So yeah, I you know, got in trouble as a kid. It was always, a lot of times it was around clothes.
Yeah.
So that just made sense. And actually, it wasn't even a clothing brand at first. It was sandals. It was flip-flops.
Oh.
It was a flip-flop company.
That already existed? Or that
no, I built it from the scratch.
Oh, wow. Why
so
flip-flops?
The concept... so why flip-flops? I was not that passionate about flip-flops. We lived in Florida. We lived at the beach. Right. And I was really heavily inspired by Tom's Shoes. And Blake Mikowski, the owner of Tom's Shoes, had written a book. And it was kind of his story around Tom's Shoes. And the concept of his brand was, you buy a pair, they give a pair.
Yeah.
So I just remember thinking like, man, I want to do something like that also does good and gives back. Yeah. You know, so I just started thinking about like the area we lived in, the beach. You know, everybody in Florida wears flip-flops even with jeans.
Right.
You know, flip-flops are like a thing. So the concept was, all right, I'm going to come out with 10 different colors of flip-flops. Mm-hmm. And then each one's going to represent a cause. And then we're going to donate 10% of the proceeds to that cause. Yeah. So like the red represented heart disease for kids. Mm-hmm. The blue represented autism. Mm-hmm. The black and orange represented human trafficking.
Yeah, that's cool.
You know,
I didn't know that.
The light blue represented clean drinking water. So I had these different causes, and then we would partner with an organization for each one that was kind of like the organization we were bringing awareness to. Mm-hmm. And then that's how it started as Flip Flop for probably the first year. And then I gradually was able to incorporate clothes into it. Mm. So we started doing full on apparel. Yeah. And then, so it was Flip Flop Company at first.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Was it successful right away? People love stuff like that.
It had a lot of momentum and support right from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, a lot of people supported it. A lot of people jumped on board, and was sharing it on social media. So essentially, it was successful from the beginning. It was just evolving the company. Mm-hmm. So, you know, we were doing I was ordering them from overseas. So then the next plan was, can I get these manufactured in the USA? Yeah. And then as we started to do the apparel, the partnerships was really a big deal. And it did start to catch a lot of steam. So, you know, I was getting invited to, I had a really close relationship with Generation Rescue, which is Jenny McCarthy, her son. That's cool. And Jim Carrey, I think, is the father. Anyway, her son has autism, and so she built this whole organization around autism, Generation Rescue. So they started to invite us to the events, and those ladies there really
I'm sure,
embraced the message. Cool. And then I started going out to the West Coast because I was like, you know, I always loved California as a kid. Always wanted to live in California. California has, I don't know if I'm from there in a past life, but there's something weird there. Yeah. There's some type of a weird connection because when I was a kid, I had never been, but I always felt like I was going to live there. Yeah. Even to this day, like I get asked on a regular basis, are you from LA?
Because you're so tatted.
The tattoos, I think the LA hats and all of that stuff.
Would you ever live there?
I lately, the past few years, I've just seen it go down.
Yeah, I know.
So if you would have asked me this question, you know, 7 years ago, my dream was to always live in San Diego. Love San Diego, and still to this day. So would I live there? Probably in San Diego. I would. San Diego's nice. But I basically started flying out to LA with a backpack just by myself and started promoting my brand. And then I would drive up the coast. I would drive from LA to San Diego, and then I got connected down in Pacific Beach in San Diego, and they really latched onto the brand. Yeah. So started sponsoring events there, like big volleyball tournaments, and everything would be healthy.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was wild. And then I just had a ton of support. There was just so many people behind it. It was doing really well. Decided to open a store in the mall in Daytona. And threw everything I had into that.
You've already brought on apparel.
This is at this point, it's full on. It's hats, apparel, accessories, sunglasses.
So you're ready for your first store.
Yeah, so we opened a store in the Volusia Mall. I just had so many people supporting, even the healthcare company that I was working with. Yeah. Like, they knew I was building this.
So did you quit the other job?
Eventually.
What did that conversation look like? And when did you know it was time to go?
They knew. I know now. They were supporting me through this. Yeah. All of the girls that I worked with, because it was primarily girls, but they just were like family. They supported everything. So they were essentially helping me build this while working there. Yeah. How I ended up making the full jump is the guy who, going all the way back to Pensacola, got me into healthcare. Mm-hmm. He is the first person that when I told him about this idea, he sent me a check. Oh, that's and he sweet. Invested a decent amount of money into this brand. And at the time, he was an invested partner in it essentially too. He wanted to see us succeed. and he knew that I also needed to go full time. So what he did is he was at this time in Maryland, and he did government contracting. So now they're still doing the same thing except for the Air Force bases across the U.S.
Oh, yeah.
So he offered me a position remote to work from home.
Oh, that's what I was thinking of. Okay.
And that's how he got me in there. So, and he knew like, hey, look, do your thing. You don't have to worry about like, you can work from home. You can work your own hours. Just like handle everything that we need you to handle and then spend all of your extra time building this company. Cool. Yeah. I mean, to this day,
I was going to say, are you still friends?
Unfortunately not. Like, that's where I've learned lessons too. You know, the Healthy Souls thing.
Yeah. So go back. So you're opening a store in the mall.
Yeah, it's all going well, right? And then the crash comes. And how the crash comes basically and where it started was the manager of that mall, again, they were supportive. They had just won an award for our store, for most unique store. Yeah. And but basically she comes to me one morning. This is like 3 months after we opened the store. Now, mind you, I invested everything that we had. Right. You know, I've got other people's money tied up. Everybody's supporting this thing. Right. And then 3 months later, she comes in and she goes, hey, we've got a slight problem. There's a company, which I found out it was Pandora Jewelry, wanted our space. And they wanted to buy the space. So the way that the mall leasing works is if you're in a year-to-year lease, the only thing that can offset that is if somebody wants to buy the place as a permanent location, then that can kind of wash out the year-to-year lease. So they wanted our location. So I was like, okay, so what does that mean? She's like, well, you can either sign a 10-year commitment.
10 years.
Or, we can move your location. And that was like the beginning of the fall. Yeah. Because I put everything into building out this store. And we built it out on our own. Right. And so it was like, dang, then I did try to move, and they shoved me in like an old T-Mobile store in by the food court. Yeah. And it just killed all of the motivation. Yeah. Right. And then that's kind of also when all of that stuff started to happen, I kind of started to make a downfall.
In your personal life?
Mentally. Yeah. Personal life. Yeah. It was the first time I had ever experienced a major like failure like that. Yeah. But also I had so many people, and that's ultimately what hurts the relationships too. Right. And that's why I've always said like, I will never do business with a friend that was a friend first. Yeah. I would only ever do business with a friend that became a friend after business. Like through business, yeah. Yeah, like I would never, ever, ever do anything moving forward with a friends or family members to support something of mine. Yeah. Because no matter how strong you think those relationships are, no matter how those conversations are, because I can even look back at those conversations with certain individuals where it was like, look, because people would come to me. Mm-hmm. I wasn't asking people for money. Right. People would come to me, like, and then other people that, got involved, they came to me and they're like, Ryan, man, we really want to join this thing. Like, what do we need to, like, we'll help you run the company. Like, we'll invest money into it. Mm-hmm. And of course, I'm like, okay, let's do it. Not really knowing what a failure would look like. Right. Or how it would come. Because in my mind, I don't think about that. I'm just like, we're just going to, let's do whatever we've got to do. Like sure. Full steam ahead. And then I do remember, though, having those little conversations, if money was involved, where it's like, hey, what happens if it fails? You understand that, like, if it fails, then this money is gone, right? So I always had that little conversation, but then it would always be like, hey, no, we understand. And then they didn't understand. Yeah. And then when the reality comes. Yeah. They're like, where's my money? Yeah, and then it's like, where's the friendship go from there? Right. So, that's hard. But it's a real thing. Yeah. It's a real thing. So anyway, it failed. Yeah. It came crashing down at what was almost the peak. And, I didn't know how to navigate that. Yeah. I didn't know how to navigate that. It was pretty devastating. Yeah. And, I learned a lot through it, and I would know how to handle those things now. So I learned all my lessons out of it. Yeah. But at that time, there was nothing I could do but just let it crumble. What do you feel like is your biggest takeaway from that whole situation? Oof. A lot. Yeah. What are a couple then? Or maybe just some takeaways? understand more about business, meaning that, you know, in my mind too, it was like, all right, I'm going to start this flip-flop company. Easy. Mm-hmm. Flip-flops cost me this much. I sell them for this much.
Right.
I'll make this much.
Right.
Business is never that way.
No.
Because you know, what I should have done was, okay, the sandals cost this much. The tags cost this much.
Yeah.
The bag cost this much. You know, all of these.
I pay taxes on this much. I pay things. For whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely finances would be a huge part of it, because if I would have known how to better manage the finances that were coming in instead of just constantly just investing them into something new.
Yeah.
Then I don't know, it would have probably helped either soften the blow or prevent it, because it was just like when everything came crashing down, everything was gone.
Yeah.
So the finances and understanding the structure of a business was definitely one. Number two was just a reality that failure can happen.
It's
right?
kind of inevitable.
And it can happen.
Right.
So it's like, you know, not being, I've taken so many losses since then that don't really affect me.
Yeah.
Because I just understand it's a part of it. And then the relationship side's definitely a big part of it.
Yeah.
Because you do realize that it burns a lot of relationships if something goes wrong, right? And you're the fall person.
Yeah.
And most of those relationships, like I look back at it now and I'm just different. I'm like, you know, Jenna and I have not, we've known that. Right. So it's helped us understand, like, I would be very, very cautious and picky before we ever entered a business relationship with somebody.
Yeah.
And it would never be somebody that we're friends with first.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So that was probably one of the biggest lessons that I learned.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that all of those things, I think specifically finances is something that a lot of people struggle with. And I have a lot of girlfriends that own little companies, right? Swimsuits, like hair bow accessories, like charm necklace companies, like tiny little small businesses.
Yeah.
I always hear them say, I just want to do the fun stuff. I just want to make the necklaces. I just want to make the swimsuit. I just want to do the fun part. And then they don't know how to or want to anything on the back end. And that's really hard to be able to do both and to like also figure out then who can do your back end. Because I do think in some worlds you can have someone that does front end and someone that does back end, but then you really have to trust that person.
Yeah.
And that's hard.
It's hard. That's why I always too, like, I don't know. Maybe it's just me and my experiences, but I don't believe that you should, you know, I wasn't passionate about the flip-flops.
Right.
Just like, you know, do I love the stuff we do? Obviously I do. So I want this to come out.
But you're passionate about making money.
I'm passionate about building business, right? Yeah. That's even more so than the money. I love to take something that's either broken and fix it, or I like to take something that's not there and create it.
Yeah.
That's me. I would do that without money. I would
it's
do
because
that
you have very much like a visionary outlook on a lot of things. You always are dreaming big, thinking big.
Correct.
What can happen? What else? What's more, like it's always more.
And with that, that's why I always too advise about starting a business with what you're passionate about, because like what you're actually passionate about is only going to be 5% of what's required when you talk about starting a business out of it. And then ultimately, once you start a business out of it, the likelihood of you burning yourself out and not enjoying that anymore is extremely high.
So high.
And if you are going to do it, then you have to be so strategic and plan so far ahead, because like you said, like it's like, all right, then you need to have the people already in place, and you have to be willing to do all of this, because there's just so much involved in it that people don't think about. So I always like to recommend to people, like, obviously I'm passionate about starting businesses and entrepreneurship. I really like to encourage people whose goal is to be an entrepreneur to be an entrepreneur. I try to be cautious, encouraging people who love to build websites to become an entrepreneur, or paint to become an entrepreneur, because I'm like, that's you need
such
to protect your little piece of love that you have, because that little passion that you have, it's so great. You're going to destroy it. When I would just rather suggest you, like, man, who doesn't want extra income? Right. Like, just do it in a place that like doesn't have the pressure.
Like you can control.
You can control it. Just do it. Don't create a business out of it. Do it on the side.
Right.
You know, do side projects.
Sell it on Etsy. Sell it on whatever.
Like, get you some extra money.
Right.
You know, and then spend your full time doing it somewhere that'll nurture your passion.
Right.
You know.
So after it crashed and you were kind of at a lower point, then you start OneSource?
Yeah. So fun fact about OneSource. In 2013, I came up with OneSource.
Where did the name come from?
I was sitting in my office at Healthy Souls, and I was, I remember I was hiring, you know, this person to like make my accessories, and I was paying this guy for my website, and I was paying these people to do my social media. And I'm always one that's trying to come up with an idea. And I just remember thinking, literally, I can see it right now. I was sitting at my desk and I was coordinating all of these things. And I was like, one day I'm going to create a marketing company and OneSource. It's going to be your one stop. I'm going to do all of this stuff. And then that was it. It stuck. But I never revisited it until 2017. Okay. 2016, 2017. Yeah, 2016. Okay.
And you decide to start with websites?
Yeah, so when things started to get rough with Healthy Souls, I had to obviously start cutting things. Let me
pause really quick. Did you see that it was ending when you were in it? Or did it happen by surprise? Or were you able to look and be like, this is probably not going to end well. I should think of a second plan, a backup plan?
I could see it coming once the lease thing happened, because I'm like, okay, now like I don't want to go ask for money. Right? I'm not doing that. I refuse to do that because when this fails, these people are already going to lose money. Yeah. That was the heaviest burden for me to carry for years.
Yeah.
I mean, I dealt with that for like...
Did you have many investors?
No, not many. There were 3 individuals. The biggest one that was hard for me to let down was the gentleman that I told you.
Yeah, that was
because helpful. I mean, we were like brothers.
He was like your mentor, yeah.
And I would not be in most of the places I would be without him.
Yeah.
So the fact that the relationship kind of dwindled away after that really sucks. You know,
you should reach out.
You know, we'll maybe one day.
Maybe he'll.
But I'm also like, at some point, it's like, I don't know. You know.
Yeah, no, that's hard. And that was a while ago at this point.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
So, but that's a big burden to carry. So anyway, I kind of saw it coming, but of course I was just going to push through whatever I needed to do. Right. So anyway, the website side of things, I had to like start cutting costs, and then I had to start doing my own stuff. That's where I learned the website thing. Yeah. So when everything did crash, as did my personal life, I basically lost everything in one weekend.
Yeah.
And that was a wild time. So I had nothing. I had no nothing to fall back on. So then that's when OneSource.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, I could start with websites. And then Jenna and I met.
Yeah.
And we actually, within the first year, we almost brought back Healthy Souls.
Really?
Yeah.
Why didn't you?
We started to. We, like, if you go back to like her profile and my profile, we were starting to rebuild. We reset up the website. We started to regather designs. You know, she started kind of posting about it. I started kind of posting about it. But I didn't feel the same about it. I felt like I was trying to bring something back that didn't need to come back. I felt like, you know, I started to realize like I was entering a whole new chapter of my life, and I felt like I was trying to latch on to that, but there was so much that was attached to it.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like a shoe that doesn't fit.
Yeah,
it's like, just let it go.
Yeah. And so as we started like trying to bring it back, and
that's really hard though. I've dealt with that as well, like holding on to this idea of something, or like your dream job or your whatever, and then it doesn't work out, and it is all encompassing, and it's like, but I was at I really struggle with this personally. I don't know if you do as well. Attaching your self-identity to your job and like your self-worth through your job. Yeah. I have struggled with that hard to where I'm like, I am this job, nothing else besides this job. And that's really hard. And that's not a fun place to be in.
It's not.
When it doesn't work out, because then you're like, oh, then I'm nothing.
You lose yourself.
I'm a loser. I have nothing. Yeah. I don't even know who I am. Yeah.
You lose yourself. Yeah. We realized it.
Yeah.
I think we tried for a few months maybe.
Yeah.
And then that's when I was like, let's scratch this and let's build this one source.
Right.
So then she's like, well, what is that?
Right.
This is what we're going to do.
Right.
And that was the beginning of that journey.
The rest is history.
Kind of, yeah. I know she shared a lot of that, like picking up from there in her episode of the podcast. Mm-hmm. So make sure
you watch
you check episode 1.
If you didn't know.
So I won't get into all of that moment from there, but yeah, that was it was history, right? And then we both just went full-fledged, one source. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we both dove in pretty heavy on that one.
Yeah.
We left our jobs and left all the comfort.
Her too, because that was so new for her.
Oh yeah. And
crazy.
It was
she really trusted you.
She did, and the family, nobody was for it.
Right.
Nobody was for it,
right.
And but we saw it. We did, and it was weird because I didn't even we didn't know what to expect. We were not trying to build this company. It was one source was supposed to be hey, we can work from anywhere.
Yeah.
And
like
have
our
a goal
life.
of how much money we wanted to make.
Yeah.
We were like, man, if we can make that working from anywhere, who cares? Mm-hmm. And then we just found ourselves building a company.
Yeah.
And now just our payroll is double what our financial goal was.
Seriously.
And then we're not bringing home a lot. So it's it's a real thing, right? Because now the vision is just so big and we know exactly what we want, where we're just constantly you're
doing the same thing.
Let's get this monster going. The vision is just a lot bigger. So, but it is funny how that works out because it's
we're still in the same spot.
We're still in the same spot, but it's worth it because we do have a clear vision. We know exactly what we want. We know exactly where we want to go, and we don't know how long it'll take. We know we will get there.
Yeah.
We know we will get there. We've proven that to ourselves so many times.
Yeah.
Even having this conversation last night about the baby and her being pregnant. It's look, there was so much stacked against us.
Yeah.
The average person, I believe, in our situation, if they would have ran into the things that we ran into, would probably not have pushed through.
Oh, no way.
There's so many reasons to just be
I wouldn't.
So I feel that way with everything else. So it's what it is.
Will you share the story about you envisioning owning the spa?
Yeah. So the Rose was a client of ours through our marketing company. Mm-hmm. And before they were a client, Jenna used to get her lashes done there. Mm-hmm. And I went with her one day when the girl, I know what it was, the owner wanted to talk to us about hiring a marketing company. So I went with Jenna this time. We're sitting there and I see the Somodome. Mm-hmm. Now I've always been a huge vision board, manifest type of person.
Right. Visionary, right? And you are a visionary.
Always with that. And I've always believed in okay, I can create, I can get this, if I do all the weird stuff that people think is weird, but it works.
Yeah.
So anyway, she shows me the Somodome and she's explaining it to me. And she's like, yeah, there's this manifestation one. And Rob Dyrdek promotes this. And I was like, that's my guy. Mm-hmm. He's one of my biggest influence and idols ever. Mm-hmm. Top 2 for sure.
So you have 2 idols or
idols.
Not idols. No,
what
am I trying to say? 2 role models.
Role models.
Yeah.
Role models, yes.
Yeah.
So 1 is Walt Disney. Mm-hmm. 2 is Rob Dyrdek. I've always looked at him. Yes. And then probably Elon is probably my 3rd. Mm-hmm. These are just people I've always attached to. Mm-hmm. But Rob Dyrdek's been...
People love him.
I flew to LA when I had Healthy Souls and I sat outside of the Fantasy Factory for 6 hours.
Waiting for him?
Yeah, just to see if he came out.
Did he?
No.
Oh, shoot.
No. But I was like, man, if he comes out...
this is it.
This isn't a fan thing. We're going to be boys and we're going to do business
Maybe
together.
He'll see this.
Maybe so.
Hit us up.
But yeah, anyway, Rob Dyrdek. Yeah. So where were we going with that? He promotes the Somodome.
You said I'll do it because if he does it, I'll do it.
And I got in it and I did the manifesting one and I was fully locked into it. It's a guided guided manifestation experience. And while I was in it, I saw two things. I saw us owning the Rose, which was weird because it was my first time there. And I saw a white Jeep in the parking lot. I saw those two things, which was, at the time, that was my dream car. Jenna and I would go and rent white Jeeps. And actually, we found a video the other day. Fun fact, we found a video the other day of us picking up a white Jeep in Denver.
Oh, that's fun.
And we're like on social media. And I'm like, we're renting this until I get it.
Yeah, that's cool.
And it was videos of her and I in this white Jeep. So anyway, the Rose was kind of the same thing. And I saw that. And then when we left, I told Jenna, I was like, I had a vision of us owning this place. Now, Jenna and I's behavior, you also have to understand, we're like that.
Yeah.
You know, most of the time when we go into a place, we're like, this is what we would do. Or this is what,
totally.
You know.
Yeah.
And
Justin and I are kind of like that too.
I wish I knew what year that was.
Probably like 2021.
It was probably, I would say probably a year before we got it. But we just always saw a vision there. Always saw a vision there that we could do something really cool.
And then you did.
Yeah, and we did. And
now we're rocking and rolling.
We are. We
are.
Still a long way to go.
Yeah, but we have
we
a
are
great
rocking
team.
and rolling.
We have a huge team.
This is the most, I can say this. This is, this phase of where we're at with the Rose is the most excited I've ever been about the Rose. Yeah. And that's been really cool too, because I've always been involved. Obviously, right? I've always been a big part of it, but the excitement has definitely got me thinking about it and focusing on it as much as I can. You know, I'm very excited about it. So, and this podcast was our idea.
It was our idea. You guys are so lucky that this one over here allowed. I don't know who brought it up first.
I think we both did.
I think we both
very
kind of
early
did.
on.
Yeah, like a long time ago.
It would be cool to do a podcast. And is it that cool though, right? It goes back to the creating thing. We talked about it probably in like your first month.
No, I feel like it was almost immediately.
Early on. Yeah. We talked about
like, oh, that one, that would be cool one time. It would be cool. Year. Yeah.
And then what? Like, God, you haven't been with us for years.
No, I've only been with you for like literally 6 months. Or like 7.
That's wild.
The last week of October. So that doesn't even count.
Wild.
November. My first day was like on the 25th or something of October.
That is wild.
November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June. Okay.
That is wild.
8 months-ish.
So yeah. So it's cool though.
Doesn't it feel like years?
It does. It really does. But yeah, that's cool. And then, you know, here we are now. This is episode 4.
No, this is not. This is episode like 7.
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Or like, yeah, for sure.
It's one of the, it's like in the top 10.
I'm choosing not to acknowledge the episode number because I don't want to do this.
Got you. Okay. Yeah. Cause then
because then it's like, I'm not sure.
But it's really cool to see it all and just to see everything going on at the Rose, and you're crushing it over there.
Oh, thank you.
And everybody that is on the team is just awesome.
The best. And we're busy and we're doing big services and we're having excellent results, and the guests are loving the product, their experience. Like, it seriously just could not be any better. Well, it could be. There's some things that
we're just getting started,
but it's like, really good right now.
I really do feel like we're just getting started. Like,
can you believe how crazy it's going to be in like September?
No,
like how fun it's going to be.
I always think too of like 2 years from now.
Oh my gosh, I know.
Where is it going to be?
Well, even look at it, what it was like in January. I was dying. Do you remember that? You and I were like, not okay.
It's, because I'm thinking back of like, it feels like we've been at this for so long. But a lot's happened in 6 to 8 months then.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Because it really started when you joined us, is when it really, really started.
I would say a little bit after, because when I first started, it was like peak holiday. I mean, it was like so much was going on.
Yeah, there was a lot going on.
Like, I was nowhere even interested even in talking about bigger pictures, projects. Like, I just wanted to understand what you guys are doing, what we were doing, what is a goal, what would be realistic. It felt like the phrase of like drinking from the hose or whatever. It was like, this is crazy. Like, he said it was going to be a lot, but I didn't understand.
We warned you, right?
I know. Okay. I know.
Because I've really tried to make that a point.
Yeah.
Anytime somebody's about to join us, I'm always like, hey, so listen, this is a lot.
Right.
Like, we are a lot to deal with. Lot. And
yeah, but it's so fun though. I'm like, it's fine.
It's fine. I've got this.
Yeah,
which I do. You do. You have this. But it's just funny now to like get your perspective on it, where it's like, yeah, it's really been a lot, man.
No, it's really
been a lot.
I have dreams. I have nightmares.
Yeah.
I am thinking about I look at the books like it's Instagram. I look like 4 or 5 times a day.
Yeah.
On my phone.
Yeah. It's fun though.
It is so fun, and it's so rewarding.
It is.
And we have the best guests. We have the best team.
It makes it all worth it. So yeah, I'm very just. It's been a journey.
I know. Right?
I guess I have wore a lot of hats.
You've worn a lot of hats.
Yeah, and I mean, we obviously didn't even, that's just a small little sliver of the journey.
Oh, well, I was going to touch on some of that if I may.
We're going still, okay.
Kind of, yeah. We're going for just a bit more. So during all of this, you have 2 beautiful children.
Yes.
That are all big and grown up basically now.
My son just turned 20.
Mm-hmm. Which is crazy. Ryan's old enough to have a 20-year-old.
That's wild.
Mm-hmm. And
wild. And a 15-year-old daughter. Yeah, Aubrey. Yeah. And
a
8-week-old.
Mm-hmm. Almost 8 weeks. Tomorrow will be 8 weeks.
Little peanut that we don't know what it is yet.
So cute.
It's so cool already.
Can you share with me some of your favorite things about fatherhood?
Yeah. Wow, that's a loaded question. So I really have to think of like...
I've never asked anyone that, so I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, right? Because you're learning all of this stuff. Like, that's also, like, I've learned so much.
And you had your babies, like, so young.
Yeah, which is also, I think, cool because I've got, like, 20 years of learning and lessons to where, I think I'll do a better job. Not that I'm a bad father, but obviously, like, you look back at things, right? Like, that's been the one thing about it is, like, you always are like, man, I could have done better and done different. I don't think that that's fair because I think any parent would say that, right? And I think that's just part of life. My favorite part of fatherhood, especially I think like right now, is the connection, right? Yeah. And then, how a parent feels about a child and how a child feels about a parent are 2 different things. Mm-hmm. And so it's cool knowing though that, I am a father, and how they look at me, even though I may not know what that is. We have a very close connection, and to play a role like that and to be that somebody in somebody's life is probably my favorite thing because my dad died at I was 20. So it's still an early age, right? And he died right when, like, I think it was like maybe 2 weeks after I told him that we were pregnant with Peyton.
Yeah.
So,
how old was he?
54.
That's crazy.
54. And then I was pretty young. So it was almost like the moment I really needed a dad the most, he passed away. And so for me, my favorite thing, God willing, I don't, anything can happen anytime. Mm-hmm. But my favorite thing right now is just being able to play that role, being able to have that relationship that I have with them. We talk every day, and there's a strong bond there.
Yeah,
it's just so much different than the way. I talk to Jenna about this all the time. There's a big difference in our parents and us when we were kids than parents and kids nowadays because there's so much more connection now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like most parents like almost listen to the same music as their kids now.
Totally.
We're entertained by the same
You're wearing
things.
the same clothes from the same store.
Clothes. Right. Yeah. That's really cool. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's probably why I feel that and why I say that's my favorite part of fatherhood is that connection because I didn't have that with my parents. Like they were like lashing out about the music I was listening to and the clothes I was wearing. Right. But now it's just really cool because, we can go to concerts together. We're enjoying the same artist. I can take Peyton to see the rap artist that he loves and we enjoy it. We do the same things, you know, he can like borrow my shoes and then Aubrey and I, you know, and that's just really cool. And it's going to be cool with the whatever baby we're having. It's just really, that's my favorite part. It's just, I feel like it's just so different than any other previous generations having kids.
Absolutely.
Because there was such major gaps. There was never really any connection levels for.
Well, and I think also it is so much an equal relationship in the effort that you put into it.
Yeah.
And I think you do a really good job of that. And a lot of parents don't.
Yeah.
A lot of parents don't care to, especially once your kids do get older, care to touch base, come over for dinner, do whatever, like whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
And that's where you are an excellent father in that, because you always
thank you
do that.
Yeah.
And that's cool.
Well, because I know too, like, that's what we wanted.
Right.
Like, that's what we wanted.
Right.
Like,
right.
you know.
Right.
I'll be cautious what I say. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. But, you know, there are times where it's like, dang, man, you know, it'd be nice to have somebody be proud of this or involved in this or really care.
Or just even be excited.
Be excited.
Me. Answer the phone when I call.
Correct. So I think that's also what drives that.
Right.
Because, you know, I am adamant about like every day.
Right.
You know, we're going to talk.
Yeah.
And I make that a point and I make that a commitment, you know, that like no matter how old they are or where we're at in life, you know, I still try to make it a point where we're like, even as Peyton, as he's gotten older, you know, it's a little bit different. Like Aubrey, we still get her every other weekend.
Yeah.
But as she turns 16 and gets her car, that'll probably change. That's when it changed with Peyton, which I want it to. You know, I don't want to force you you to hang out with us.
Right. When she's going to want to like do her own.
Yeah.
I want come into her own. Yeah.
I want them to do that. I don't ever want to hold them back, but while still letting them know like, hey,
like I want
to hang out, right? Like I'm not like, I don't want to go months without seeing you. So, but that I think has also helped out where, you know, even Peyton, he makes it a priority. Like we might go 2 or 3 weeks, but typically we don't go longer than once a month, you know? So,
that's sweet.
You know, we might just like last week, right? We might just go see a movie or we already planned 3 Tuesdays from now we're going to Disney. So just keeping that relationship there is very important. So, but I'm excited about the next
chapter
of
fatherhood.
Yeah, because I'm in such a better place mentally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In so many ways.
Like,
your life is just so much less chaotic, it seems.
Yeah. Yeah, because I was going through my own stuff, man. And it was something I didn't see until now, but I mean, just all of that trauma, I was just doing all of the stuff you shouldn't be doing, right? And a father at the same time.
Right.
So those are obviously those things. I don't try to go down those regret rabbit holes because you can really get lost in that and just understand like, hey, I was kind of growing up too.
Right.
You know?
Well, yeah, especially when you have babies so young.
Yeah.
You're like, I was just a kid too.
Yeah, because your 20s and 30s, you're still growing up. I mean, I even still feel like I'm growing up. So I don't think we ever stop. But definitely in a different place.
Yeah, for sure.
In a different place. So I'm excited.
And now you guys can just like enjoy it too, right? Yeah. Like you have teams in place and things in place that you can take a week off, a weekend to go do something away with no phone. Like, and you don't, I mean, I hope you don't feel like you have to be so boots on the ground all the time and that you do have teams that can support you guys. And,
no, definitely.
And just like enjoy your life. Like what's the point of owning your own businesses if you can't enjoy that part of it, which is I want to take a week off and hang out with my wife and kids on the beach. Like that's the whole point of owning your own business.
Yeah. No, definitely. We'll probably get good at that one day.
Yeah,
I
personally can't wait.
I know it's cool. It is cool that, it's going to be fun.
It's going to be
going to be fun. I'm also excited to raise a child though around all of this. Mm-hmm. You know, that's what I'm also very excited about. Like, because there's just, you know, so many more cooler things.
We get like a spa mascot.
Yeah, like to just see, like to grow up and you know, not mom and dad just going to work every day, but just to be a part of work.
Yeah, they're making calls.
To be a part of work.
Like,
you know,
at
it'd be
3
cool
months old.
to just be hanging out in here when we're filming a podcast, or you know, that's going to be cool. That's going to
so
be
crazy.
Cool. Yeah.
I just thought about that.
Yeah.
A little crawling Jenna sitting there.
Yeah.
Get the baby.
Yeah, because it would really be cool if they kind of continue.
That's so cool.
This entrepreneur building thing, because
they
I don't
can take
think
over it all.
Yeah, and I kind of want that, you know. Peyton is on his own path.
Yeah.
And Aubrey is on her own path.
Yeah, do either of them ever want to do anything with these? Not really.
No.
That's
no
okay.
interest at all,
No.
which is fine.
Maybe it'll change.
Which is fine, though, because I would never want to force.
Young. Yeah.
I would never want to force, but no, and that's totally cool.
Yeah.
That's absolutely cool.
Totally. Maybe one day.
It would be cool, though, if, you know, the next baby growing up in it, maybe
cared
more, you know, that they can just kind of carry this whole wild way of thinking
seriously.
after I'm gone.
Seriously.
You know, this wild way of thinking of like, let's just try to see how far we can go.
Right.
You know, instead of like, let's just build a business.
Right.
Like, how many can we get?
Right.
How many can we own?
Right.
How much can we work
how
before
many
we
places?
collapse?
Yeah.
Like that would be cool.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that.
Well, I'm excited for you.
We'll find out soon.
I know. I can't wait.
We are going to do a blood test.
You are?
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to do the blood test. We talked about it, and we're going to do it in like 2 or 3 weeks.
I did not know this.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we just decided. Yesterday.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. So as you're editing this podcast.
Oh my gosh, this actually might come out like around that time.
Yeah, because I think they said that we can blood test at 10 or 12 weeks. We kind of just decided this, where it was like, all right, we're just going to do it, because if we don't, we have to wait like
at least
4 months, right?
Yeah. And you can't handle it.
We've just heard like Jordan, a friend and a client of ours, was kind of talking to us about it the other day, because she's a nurse practitioner, and she's like, look, it's pretty spot on. Really? You know, but you have to look at that little part of it not being right. Just like, can also happen in an ultrasound. And then Jenna makes up a good point where they thought she was a boy until she was born. Right. And you hear that. Yeah. So it's like, I don't feel like any of the confirmations are 100%. As it can be. Right. So, and then she also said that, you know, the blood is the most accurate. Yeah. So we decided that we're going to do the blood test, because we just want to know. Yeah, you want to know. I do want to know, because I want to know, what am I preparing for? Yeah, you totally. Know, and then like when I'm in Target, I don't know what aisle I'm going down. Gosh, Ryan. I don't know which aisle I'm going down, right? And I don't know like what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. I don't know what I'm doing. That's with this thing. Really a big deciding factor. It is. The Target aisles. It is for me. Yeah, I know. It's like the most important. It's like, what am I doing? Right. What am I buying? You know? Okay, well, I did not know that, and that makes me really happy. Good. And I can't wait. Yeah, we're going to find out soon. So, yeah, probably by the time this drops. I don't know what episode. No, it probably will be. How the sequence is going here, but. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, my gosh. Well, thank you so much for joining today. Yep. And for chatting and for answering my questions and for sharing your expertise. On one final note, will you just give one sentiment to someone who is either going through it or is just starting their business, or maybe just went through a failed business? What is a little piece of advice that you can give them, or a sentiment that you can leave them with? Learn to love failure. Mm-hmm. That's because good. It's an absolute part of it. Mm-hmm. And I think that there's only one, and I've learned this, and this is what I'll leave as my advice, right? The only difference, and this can relate to business, personal, or anything, right? Mm-hmm. The only difference between people who accomplish their goals and people who don't isn't their smarts. It's not their education. It's not their background. It's not even their money. It's the ability to press through failures without giving up. Mm-hmm. So, and just understand that the failures are that's the steps. There's no possible business that you can look at that did not go through absolute major failures. And the bigger the company and the more successful the person, the heavier the failures that they went through. And so I would encourage anybody to study those people so that you understand that that's part of it, right? So if you're not willing to lose it all, then probably don't go for it.
Sure.
You know, you have to be willing to lose it all, because you absolutely will.
Yeah.
I don't believe anybody can escape that.
Yeah.
You can't work your way around that, because it's almost like it's
like a rite of passage almost.
Rule. It's a rule that has been put here that everybody's had to go through. And so nobody can think that they're going to escape it. It's going to happen. It's going to come. And as long as you're okay with that, then do it. Yeah. If not, then go be great at, you know, what you're great at. Don't try to do something that, you know, you don't want to. But that's really it. It's just embracing the failures and keep pushing. And I think that's outside of business too. Just like nothing lasts forever, you know, so the failure is not going to last forever, just as the success isn't.
Right.
You know, so just be ready on all levels.
Right. Never put your guard down.
No.
You never can.
My biggest lesson I've learned, Jenna and I, because I guarantee if you ask her, this is probably the biggest lesson I've learned, is never get comfortable.
Yeah, totally.
Ever.
Yeah.
Because the moment you are comfortable and you set back, and this has probably bitten us in the ass more than anything, is when it's all going well, you pull back a little bit.
Yeah.
You're just like, it's good.
It's fine.
I'm telling you that will set you back, because there is coming a dip. It's waves.
Yeah.
Right? It's life and business and everything is a wave, right? There's going to be days the waves are big. There's going to be days that they're small. There's going to be days there's not waves. And then 100% thing you can guarantee is those waves are going to come in and they're going to go out. And that's everything. Life is that. Right. And so just understanding that the hard times are going to go away, but those good times are going to go away too. And you just want to always be, you know, it's going to move in and out. So you're not just going to hit one great mountain peak and stay on that mountain peak. You're going to dip, and then you're going to get back up there. And don't be comfortable in those peaks, because that will bite you, and it makes it a lot harder to come back from.
I agree.
So
you heard it from the man himself.
Yeah.
Tell everyone where they can find you. Plug yourself. Plug your businesses.
Yeah. So you can find me at the Petal Talk podcast, because I'm here on every episode behind it somewhere in the back. So definitely the Rose. Make sure, and we'll put all of these links in the bio. One Source X, and then the Ryan McNutt on all social media platforms.
He's vlogging too. He's back.
I think so. Excited. But yeah, I'm on Mastodon, YouTube, Threads, TikTok, all of them.
He loves it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Allison.
My pleasure. I appreciate you being here.
I'll see you in the future when you're the guest.
Perfect.
And I'm the host. Perfect. Because that'll be coming up soon.
Right. The next episode.
Maybe not that they see, but
maybe not, yeah.
But yeah, make sure you subscribe
to
the Petal Talk. And I do want to compliment you. You are doing great. But with Petal Talk, you're doing awesome as well.
Thank you so much.
Congrats on your success as a podcast host.
It's really fun.
And congrats on putting together a great podcast and
Thank
episodes.
You so much.
And thanks for letting us be a part of it.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for facilitating it.
Awesome.
Okay. Bye.